Hello everyone, welcome back to the Captain Logan Show. It is me, Captain Logan, and joining me as always is my fantastic chat moderator and producer, DJ Martinez. We're going to do a late night special for you tonight. We are still technically on hiatus. DJ, I haven't talked to you in a while. You've not been around.
Yeah.
People have been calling this the hiatus era of Geek Solution.
That's good. That's good. I like that.
I still show up. I'm streaming all the time. We just don't have a schedule. You just never know what you're going to get, man. We are rolling a D20 every damn time.
It keeps you on your toes, man. It's the suspense is terrible.
So I've got a different setup with DJ tonight, and he didn't get to see my egregious mistakes right at the beginning, but I had forgotten to change the Captain Logan Show title from the Christmas one.
Oh.
So if you go back and watch this, DJ, you'll see that the Christmas logo just disappears and turns into the regular logo.
Wow. Yeah, I'm flying blind. I just got a nice view of you in your lovely basement.
I guess I could have. Well, thank you.
I see some Donkey Konga bongos back there. That's nice.
Yeah, well, those are down here because my twins got their hands on them and grabbed a pair of drumsticks and started beating on them real hard.
Nice.
And I say real hard. Like, the girls are not anything like as destructive as Mikey was at this age. So, like, I'm not super worried about them. They don't tend to like ruin things. But it used to be that those GameCube bongos could be bought anywhere for like $5 and they couldn't give them away. They are no less than $40 on eBay all day long now, and I only got the one pair, so I kind of don't want to get those messed up. I like there's one game I like to play with those, so
yeah, you were like, no, and you had to go snatch them from them.
Yeah, you ever played Donkey Kong Jungle Beat? It's awesome.
Absolutely,
We've
man.
had
A
this
side scroller that you play. Yeah. We have this conversation every few years. We discover our mutual love for Donkey Kong Jungle Beat.
Jungle Beat. Yeah, well, because it was the closest thing to a Donkey Kong sequel or Donkey Kong Country sequel we got up until Returns in 2011, whenever that came out.
Yeah, that was all the way on Wii. And we need a new one, man. It's time.
Wonder
is amazing. We need the Donkey Kong equivalent.
Absolutely. Well, and I said this with my initial thoughts on that game when I streamed it. Mario Wonder for me is like the equivalent for Mario 2 Returns or Tropical Freeze. Like it's got a lot in common with those games, especially with like the background foreground stuff that it does. Like it's actually taking a few cues from that game.
Yeah. And surprisingly, Sonic did the exact same thing with the background foreground stuff.
Yeah, they sure did. Oh yeah, because you got that too.
Yeah, we've been playing both of those. My son loves them. It's been fun.
Yeah, Superstars I'm liking more as I play it, but it is unfortunate that they came out the same weekend as Wonder, because it's a little night and day. Like that game, like this isn't fair to say. It's good, and again, it's better the further you get into it. But like, I don't know, it looks like a web-based side scroller next to Mario Wonder. Like,
Well, yeah, you can't even compare. But I really like. I like the thing that they took from Mario, where the ability. And I know you don't like this, but I like the ability to play two-player because getting to play like alongside my son and him being able to jump back where I am, so we don't have to like keep starting over is really fun.
no, they actually handled that the best way you possibly could. I mean, you say I don't like it. I don't think I've talked about it since I actually tried it, because
Oh, okay.
I didn't like I was skeptical of that. I didn't see
Yeah.
how exactly that would work, and then I did it, and I was like, I mean, that's handled as well as it possibly could. I like the throwback nature of it, where it's like playing. Welcome everybody, thanks for watching live.
We haven't talked in a while. Sorry.
We'll chat with you guys in just a moment. But DJ, did you ever play? Because I know you weren't. You're younger than me, and you probably didn't have a Genesis. But did you ever play Mario 2, like as Tails with a first player? Did you ever do that?
Very rarely. My cousin had it, and I played like a couple times over his house, but I didn't. I didn't get to play it very much.
Because I don't
But
know if you know that, but if you played the regular mode where you've got Tails lagging along behind you, a second player could pick up that controller and control Tails, but he would frequently fall behind and die.
And fly back.
Yeah, and you just play with him whenever he caught back up. The
Yeah.
multiplayer in Superstars is that, except whoever is ahead is the one that keeps going instead of the second player always lagging behind. I kind of like that. It actually sort of works. It's I would imagine it's rougher with more than two, but I don't know if it even works with. Can you do it with more than two?
I don't know. We've only played two.
Wonder
Yeah,
you
try.
can. And
Wonder
I like
is crazy.
and I like the multiplayer a lot better in Wonder than I did any of the new Super Mario Brothers games, because there are actually places where it makes it a lot harder. There's also places where it makes it a lot easier
Yeah,
to have
yeah. I
multiple
love
players on the
playing
screen.
multiplayer. It saves you so. I actually like it better on Super Mario Brothers better than Wonder because that you have your own separate lives in the other one, and if they die, they just get continues, and it doesn't mess with your lives. In Wonder, you all share the same pool of lives, and I can't really play with my 3-year-old anymore because she'll just lose all her
Okay,
lives.
that's fair when you're playing with a kid that doesn't really know what they're doing. When you've got somebody that's like proficient enough but not quite as good as you are, it works okay. But the best thing about it is that you can't interact with each other, so you're not knocking anybody into things. You're not killing each other. Like you're kind of forced to actually play together as a team instead of deciding if you're going to be competitive or not. And I like that aspect about it.
Yeah, it's cool. It was nice to be able to jump off people's heads though in the last one because you could get up higher places in certain places, but you don't need that here because there's so many like power ups and stuff.
No, but you can do that with a Yoshi. If somebody plays as Yoshi, you can ride on
That's
him.
true.
And,
That's
and a Yoshi can ride on a Yoshi, which is hilarious.
Oh, I haven't done that yet, but that's great. That's really funny.
Anyway, I guess we're just talking about new video games right now. Everybody, thanks a lot for being here. If you're watching live, appreciate you watching after the fact. If you're doing that, we're not putting this in the numeric sequence for the Captain Logan show. We're calling this a late night special. I'm going to do kind of a news roundup thing a little bit later, but we're not going to open with news. We're actually going to open with some Patreon questions. And if you would like the opportunity to leave questions ahead of time for a show that maybe you won't be able to make it to, you can be guaranteed that on a monthly and sometimes even more often basis on Patreon at just the $2 tier. So quick plug for that, patreon.com/geekvolution. Get you access to that. And we're going to open with just a few Patreon questions. We're going to answer everything that was asked to me yesterday, and I'm going to kind of try to lightning through that as quick as I can, for me. And then we'll do the quote-unquote lead-in topic, and I guess 6 is the magic number tonight, DJ, because I'm also going to do 6 quick news items. I'm going to make them as quick as I can, and by quick I mean I'm hoping to get all of that done in the first hour. Then we'll take a break and we'll answer lots of live questions for the second hour. Maybe we'll get all that done a lot quicker. We'll see what ends up happening. We're gonna play things by ear like we always do and be kind of laid back and have a nice, soothing experience on our late night Captain Logan show. If you would like to guarantee that a question or topic is discussed later on in tonight's show, you leave a super chat in any dollar amount, and we really appreciate anybody who has done or ever will do that. You guys are great for helping keeping this train running here on Geekvolution. And if you want to ask other things apart from super chats, don't feel like you have to do that. You can also, of course, leave a regular question or topic in the regular comments, and make sure to tag DJ Martinez or at Living Coloring Book. Every time he wears that shirt, I just want to get out some colored pencils.
Especially now that you paint Power Rangers as a hobby. You can just use your paints.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I could do that. You'd be dry brushed. Yeah, I would dry brush DJ, and there would also... That sounds weird. I'm never going to say that again.
Getting into an After Dark place here.
Yeah, it's true. I didn't mean to do that. And I don't know. Maybe I would even use... I'm not even going to say that. That also somehow sounds vaguely sexual, so I'm not even going to go to that place. Anyway, I also want to do a quick announcement for Patreon. I've been kicking this around for the last couple of weeks, and I did a Patreon poll to see what thing people were most interested in. I'm going to start, I'm not going to promise how long this is going to go, because I want to see just how much interest there is when we do kind of a pilot for it. So we're going to do at least a few episodes of this. If we stop, it'll be because there's not enough interest, and I'm just trying to give people some cool stuff on Patreon for supporting us on the channel. I feel like I'm not doing nearly enough stuff for those guys over there, and we haven't had enough time coordinating After Darks lately and stuff. So After Dark, I still will try to do at least on a once a month basis, but on a at least couple times a month basis, starting hopefully next week. Brandon is going to join me, and he and I are going to start. You're not even going to believe what we're doing, DJ. I've threatened this forever, and ultimately I decided. Again, I'm trying to give Patreon some cool new exclusive content, and I don't want to do this on the channel proper. So if you want to see this, you're going to have to join Patreon, just the $2 tier. But I'm not promising any insights. I'm not promising anything but me staring at a screen with a giant, like, wide-eyed blank expression and possibly lots and lots of screaming. We are going to do a series blind watching New Trek on Patreon.
With drinking. There has to be drinking.
For my part anyway. I mean, Brandon doesn't drink, so I'm assuming for Brandon it'll be, I don't know, like Pixie Sticks or something. But
just get him hopped up on sugar. Yeah, that'll be the same, the Brandon equivalent.
I haven't decided where we're going to start yet. So, like I said, I did a poll, and it was between New Trek and Arrowverse. And I'm kind of glad New Trek won, honestly, because I know there would be more interest in Arrowverse stuff actually on the channel proper. And, of course, I've talked about that a lot on the channel. And I feel like those might be somewhat more substantial, even with blind reviews. And there still would be some angry, but probably not to the extent that New Trek will be. And I don't know where we're going to start yet, DJ. I don't really want to start at Discovery. I think folks would probably be more interested in my either binging through Picard, or I can't even believe I'm talking about this, or getting going with Lower Decks. So I'm probably going to start with one of those two. Whichever series I do, I'm not going to skip around episode-wise. I'm not going to skip around series. I'm going to pick a series and binge through it for at least as long as there seems to be, enough interest in it. And if people don't care, we'll do a few episodes, and then I'll pivot to something else that people seem more interested in. But I'm going to try it. I'm going to see how that goes, and that's going to be kind of the big exclusive Patreon thing for a while. And then again, hopefully, at least once a month, you'll get an After Dark on top of that, where we'll talk about just random fun topics that, risque and otherwise, that we don't usually talk about here on the channel, and Jackbox and fun things like that. So anyway, join Patreon if you are interested in that. And people seem excited about Brandon. He will be there, and it's going to be fun. Okay, so let's get into Patreon questions. I'm going to answer these. I don't want to say rapid fire, because I want to give these guys their due and go more than 30-45 seconds on them, but maybe a little bit quicker than usual. So I don't want to spend more than like 15-20 minutes on this. I should never give a number like that, DJ, because then people will look back on it later and be like, 2 hours later. So let's do the Patreon questions, and then we'll talk about some news items. Go ahead, sir.
All right.
I'm sorry. Apologies. There was another related announcement that I meant to make, and somebody in the comments just made me think of it with a comment. AMC said you could start with Star Trek 09. I mean, we have a commentary on 09, so yeah, I wouldn't start with that. And I don't think of that as the beginning of New Trek, even though that stuff does happen in a lot of ways because of 09. But like, it's a different continuity. It's some different people spearheading it, although Kurtzman obviously is like the main guy. So like, yes, but Anyway, we'll talk some more Star Trek later with a news item. But speaking of Star Trek, the other thing I wanted to mention is if all things go according to plan, Adam and Brandon, speaking of Brandon, are going to come back on again, like once or twice a month basis. We're hoping to do it twice a month, if at all possible, starting hopefully later this month, if not next month, to bring back Star Trek Club, at least for the foreseeable future. And we're going to be, instead of spinning the wheel, we're going to be going through the Dominion War arc of Deep Space Nine. So we're going to do at least season 6 and 7, but we might be doing even part of 5, because the beginning of 6 is the end of a real big cliffhanger, and it's kind of in the middle of a really long, like 5, 6, or 7-parter kind of. So I don't know exactly where we're going to start, but we are going to try to get through Dominion War this year as blind commentaries. So anyway, Star Trek, folks, look forward to that. Lots of Star Trek content on the channel. I've missed doing Trek stuff, and so we're going to do Trek stuff. It's going to be exciting. DJ, I don't have a name yet for the Patreon show. I've been kicking around things like Kurtzmania.
Kurtzmania. Oh man, yeah, you need something like Turtle Torture Time.
Yeah.
Trek Stress.
Trek Stress is pretty good. That's pretty good. I like that. I might have to think about that.
We'll think of something. We'll work on our wordplay.
I might have to think. Trek Stress. It just rolls off the tongue. If we hadn't used Trek NATO already, that would have been somewhat appropriate.
It's true. It's true.
All right, let's get into questions. Go ahead, DJ.
All right. I've got so many things pulled up here, but these are the Patreon questions. The Amalgam Nation.
That's Amalgam.
Oh, that's
Amalgam Nation.
Amalgam Nation.
Yeah, one of my favorite usernames we've got from folks watching the channel.
Oh, all right. Well, he wants to know, when it comes to entertainment, what are some of your guilty pleasures? I like that you specified entertainment, because we could talk about like junk food or I don't know, drinks. But
not that he massively narrows it down. I mean, entertainment is kind of the channel.
Only entertainment. What are some of your guilty pleasures? It's funny that he asked this. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, I feel like I immediately start revealing things about myself, when I go to something, because like guilty pleasure suggests that you're a little bit you'd be a little trepidatious about telling people about it, right? Like
yeah, I'm not a big fan of that term in general, because I don't feel like people should feel bad about liking things. As long as you're liking a lot of different things and being well-rounded, I don't think you should feel bad about liking fun stuff.
Sure, but I think we've all been a little bit embarrassed about that thing that we like, that we know that either everybody else around us doesn't care for, or seems to be like quote unquote inappropriate for the like the typical demographic we fall into. You know what I mean? Like, if you're I'll just throw out something kind of ridiculous. Like, if you're a 40-year-old man and you're watching like old animated like Barbie movies or something, like, that's gonna be weird to people.
Yeah.
If that's your guilty pleasure. And
I think about a toaster and a vacuum and
I'm not embarrassed about that at all.
Lamp.
Yeah, but like, that was, I don't love that movie anymore, and that was the thing I loved when I was a kid, so that's not a guilty pleasure. It doesn't hold up, unfortunately. In fact, Jason and I were talking about Brave Little Toaster just today, and he's still never seen it. And we're actually thinking about doing a blind commentary on that, because I want to watch Jason watch that movie.
I haven't seen it since I was like the same age, like 7 or something.
Nah, I kind of want to do that. A lot of my guilty pleasures are kind of in the music department before anything. Like, the things that I feel like almost too embarrassed to bring up sometimes, because people get really opinionated, in particular about like what good music is, or what like music is okay for you to watch as the whatever you are right now. You know what I mean? So like, I guess I have to say I'm middle aged now. Like I'm the age of Ninja Turtles. I'm 40, and by the way, Ninja Turtles is. I'll just use this as a quick aside. Is in its 40th anniversary this year, and I'm hoping to do some Turtles content this year. I'm thinking about doing some stuff on the 03 series, maybe a little bit of stuff on the 87 series, and I want to go through as much IDW Turtles as I can find time to do. With a baby in the house, I don't know how much of that's going to happen in the first half of the year, but I'm really hoping to get to that and start doing some regular reviews on that.
I never showed this, but Cap got me this for Christmas. I showed the movie you got me last time, but I never showed this. It's so nice. It's so compact and released.
Yeah, yay! It's out. Yeah. It's so nice they actually made that. You should come on for some of those if I do some commentaries on that.
Yeah, sure. I love that. I love that show. But it's funny that he mentioned this today, because literally right before I popped on, my wife and I watched this, of all things. Which is definitely a guilty pleasure. Very new. This is the first time I've ever seen it, but Arrow just released this Barbarella special edition, and it is it's a movie, kind of, but it is definitely a ton of fun and really, really, really silly and really fun.
So I've always meant to watch that. Unless I'm thinking of something else, I'm pretty sure I can't think of his name, but I'm pretty sure the lead actor in Danger Diabolik is in that.
I was just listening to a critic on the special features talk about this, and he said he brought up Danger Diabolik and Barbarella and one other one. He said those were like the three big comic book movies from the 60s. And I can't remember what the other one was. It's like a spy thing with another female lead. But yeah, I mean, I think this is not as good as that, but it's definitely visually striking and kind of very impressive.
Yeah, is it the same director? I can't even remember now. But that actor talks about that movie in his commentary on Diabolik.
Nice. Yeah, so they're all like intertwined. That was like the time period. I can't believe that came out in 1968.
Yeah.
Same year as Planet of the Apes and 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's crazy. That's a nuts year.
I'm seeing 2001 in the theater on Monday, by the way. I'm really excited about that.
Oh, awesome.
Adam and I are going, and hopefully Brandon. But yeah, and like I'm a totally fake sci-fi fan. I've never seen that movie all the way through, or if I have, it was when I was a kid and I don't remember everything. And so, and I've threatened for years and years and years to finally sit down and be a good science fiction fan and watch through that entire movie. And like I've just, a lot of that director's movies don't connect with me real hard, and I've always been afraid I won't like it. You know what I mean? So like, I know a lot of things about that movie, but I've never like sat down and like really sat with it, appreciated it, and I figured, seeing it the way it was intended on the big screen is probably the way to do it. If I have that opportunity,
like that. So that's awesome.
So that's what I'm doing. Sweet. Anyway, but to actually answer the, I should get that release too, because that's like it's like a tangentially, it's almost a superhero movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's based on a French comic book from the 60s, and it's like a spy thing. She's espionage type thing where she's just going. It's more fan. It's technically sci-fi, but it's very fantasy with the sci-fi, very, very loose. But yeah, it's an Arrow release. It just came out, and they're having a sale right now, 50% off at Barnes & Noble. So it was only $30. Yeah,
that's fantastic. Anyway, I'm going to actually answer this question. So, guilty pleasure stuff. I'll just throw out a couple of things. Like I said, my mind immediately goes to music with that. So I'm a fan of lots of genres. I'm more of a kind of like classic rock and 90s alternative guy. But I also am a big, I can't say big jazz fan because I don't know jazz as well as I want to, but I love jazz. But then there's a couple of country things here and there because I was partly raised in the South, and I always feel a little bit weird about listening to that kind of stuff because it doesn't immediately seem to go with my personality at all, but like there's a Brooks and Dunn record from the early 90s that I still go back to, that from with some songs that were real big on the radio at that point. And yes, I still occasionally, absolutely guilty pleasure category, I still occasionally will go back to that first Dixie Chicks record. I do like that album. The Dixie Chicks, who now call themselves the Chicks. It's hilarious. But there's a thing, I used to feel guilty pleasure about Power Rangers, and it's become so, like, I guess I can't say in vogue, but it's become, like, a lot more mainstream and kind of, like, okay to be an adult and watch that stuff, that it's not even weird anymore, but there was a time where it was. And Ninja Turtles to a lesser degree.
Yeah, it kind of went through the same thing that, like, superheroes went through.
Yeah.
Where now they're kind of cool again. Well, now they're not. They're back to not cool again, but they were cool for a little bit.
Only because too much of it for the last few years has sucked, though.
Yeah.
And there was a see, I have to reveal too much about myself to answer this question. There was a period when, like I think a few years into its run, but while it was still on the air, when I kind of closeted watched the first couple seasons of Glee, and I actually kind of enjoyed that. Yeah, and I don't know, I lost interest in that very quickly, and
so did I.
I don't think
I actually watched that too.
Did you really? I don't think I would ever go back and look at that now, but that was a guilty pleasure thing for me for a while, and like I think this is the first time I've ever revealed that I watched any of that. Like I never told, I didn't tell my wife I watched that show. I didn't tell anybody about that.
I don't think I've ever talked to Grace about it either, but I just like musicals and singing at the time, but I never rewatched it.
Some of those medleys
and I fell off at like season 3 or what. I was like, this is losing me.
Yeah, me too. Some of them, and like it was real heavy-handed with its social stuff, and it was real hammy, and there was way too much auto-tune.
Oh, and it was after school, especially like from the first.
That's what I mean. It was so after school special.
I don't know why I liked it. It's very strange.
I don't either. I don't know if it was just like production values and stuff. I can't tell you. I thought some of the mashups were kind of clever. Some of the choices with songs and stuff. Like I would watch it for. This is gonna be a weird comparison. I would watch it for the same reason I watched Power Rangers Megaforce with all the like old costume morphs. Where like the show was terrible, but I wanted to see what costumes they'd morph into, and I had that with that show with the songs.
Mm. Yeah, you just wanted to see the Zord fights. They were the Zord fights for you. It's and it was huge. Someone like Staniver said, I remember when Glee was a sensation. It like resurrected musicals like by itself, but then nothing ever came of it. It was just really, really, really. It was like Game of Thrones, where no fantasy stuff came out of Game of Thrones, but it was just huge.
Or Guardians of the Galaxy, where you didn't really get a lot of space opera, but it felt like you were going to.
Yeah, that's weird these days. That nothing ever seems to like start trends. They just get huge.
It's because it's also splintered.
That's true. There's not a thing that like everybody watches anymore.
Yeah, like in some, like maybe superheroes is the last thing that really happened with. Kind of. I do feel like a lot of things have tried to be Game of Thrones in different genres.
Yeah, I guess there was a big YA like science fiction in the mid 2000s that really blew up for a little bit.
That's another one I was going to bring up. Is I've got a guilty pleasure right now in a young adult book series, starting with a book called Scythe that I read a couple of years ago, and I'm going back to now because I never got around to reading the other two books, even though I bought them. And somewhat recently, a fourth book of like short stories in that universe came out, and I bought that. And I was like, I want to finally read through these, but it's been too long since I read the first one. And the prose is somewhat juvenile, and the plotting gets real contrived and stuff, and it feels like it wants to be optioned in a movie so bad, and it's supposed to get a film series. Like, you can tell it's trying really hard to be like the next Harry Potter or Twilight or something, but the premise is really intriguing, and I don't know what it is. I just love morbid stuff like Death Note, and this was kind of my Death Note before I even watched Death Note, where it's about a future, DJ, where people like can't die. We've conquered death, but in order to try to not lose our humanity, and because of overpopulation, we have a group of people ordained to be something called scythes, where they pick a certain number of people every year that they go around and kill. To, like I said, keep the population down, and because humanity stagnates if we're not at all afraid of death. And, like, it's a really cool premise.
Wow.
But there's a lot of stuff about it I just don't buy at all. And I'm thinking about reviewing that book for the 15 people that would watch that video when I get finished with it. Or maybe I'll wait until I read the whole series, but yeah, I'll get 3. I'll get 3 new people for that. But yeah, I'm waiting to see how that ends up coming together as a movie series, because it checks all the young adult boxes. Like, it's contrived so hard just to make it about a couple of teenagers. Like, he has a really hard time making that happen, I think. And it's like, it's weirdly colorful, and it's like hyper violent to be like, oh, it's so edgy because it's for young adults. But there's places where there's places where it's ultra violent, but then also it pulls its punches in weird ways because it's for teenagers.
Yeah.
But,
well, I mean, surprisingly similar. They didn't eradicate death in Barbarella, but they have completely got rid of sex. Centuries in the future, where nobody has sex anymore, they just take a pill, and then they like hold their hands together, and they just climax, and then it's over. And this is about her going on a journey to experience sex the old-fashioned way. Yeah. Very similar to the young adult book you're reading.
All that sounds like is John Byrne's Krypton before John Byrne.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah, because it's like nobody on Krypton has sex, and they have they have children through science, and then like Jarell and Laura, have their son the old-fashioned way. And Man of Steel does the same thing because they took that from John Byrne.
This is really influential. Like, this is before Star Wars. I can't believe it was like super early. Wonder Woman took a line straight out of this movie. The line when she gets there and she's like half naked, he's like, "Are you a typical Earth woman?" And she says, "I'm average." Like or something like that. And they stole it directly and put it in Wonder Woman. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. It's a line from 50 years ago.
Yeah, it's one of those cult classic things, though, where I'm not altogether surprised if she saw that movie.
Yeah, and Duran Duran is a character in this, which is where they get their name. All right.
Oh, I didn't know that. Anyway, so... Oh, and I was also going to mention with music, there's also an Avril Lavigne album that I still like, minus a couple of songs. That's also kind of a guilty pleasure thing. Yeah. But anyway, let's move on and try to knock out the other 5 Patreon questions.
Sure, and we did get some super chats while we were rambling about.
Yeah, and you know what? I think there was at least one about what we just talked about, so we should probably hit that now.
You sure? I got it right here. I am skipping yours, Ben, but I will get right back to it. This is
sorry, Ben.
Richard's Victims, $9.99. Not a guilty pleasure because I genuinely do think it's a good movie. Just weird to talk about because of how messed up it is. The Girl Next Door. If you know, you know. I don't know.
I don't know either. I've never heard of that. The Girl Next Door. So what I'm trying to decide is if that's a recommendation or not. I guess he said it's good. It's just messed up. So that sounds like a thing that would get requested on the request. Just to see how I would react if it's really messed up.
Yeah, there's the one I know is like a raunchy comedy from 2004 that I've never seen, but there's also one from 2007. Maybe he's talking about that one.
Austin's great. By the way, thanks for being in the comments there, Austin. He says, "Oh, Cap, why'd you have to go and make things so complicated?" Because I brought up Avril Lavigne, but I actually sent Austin the song from that album that made me kind of like her a little bit. Not anymore. Her later stuff is awful, and it's not like I followed her career that hard. But yeah, what is that song? Tomorrow. I really liked that in high school. It stuck with me. But anyway, Richard's Victims. You can choose to see it, but God. I don't know if that makes me like scared to death of it or like really curious.
You can choose to see it. He's not going to pay money for you to watch it, but if you choose to, you can
Hey,
see it.
Rich, you already put in a $10 super chat. It would only take $5 more. Okay, moving right along.
All right, next one is from SS Jerry. Run with this idea.
Okay.
He's going to give us a scenario.
All right.
What if Fantastic Four 2005 was popular enough to get as many sequels, prequels, and spin-offs as X-Men did instead? This is part 2. Consider Chris Evans' altered life and what kind of stories they may have told. For example, one of these films eventually could have been something. See more. And I can't expand it because it's a picture.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I didn't give you all of it. I will bring that up. I think we get the gist of it though.
Yeah, he's just going to give an example, but we can run with this idea.
One of those films could have been something like FF versus X-Men, say in hopes to help push the other film franchise more. Well, that almost happened. So that's not anything like outside the realm of possibility. They were supposed to be a shared universe back at that time. So a couple of possibilities here just broadly. And I don't think I actually tackled this in the big What If show I did on Superhero Rewind Unscripted, but it sounds like something that would have come up there. DJ, I think that there's actually the possibility that superhero movie history actually doesn't change all that much if that happens. Except for the fact that somebody else would play Captain America. So as long as, things don't get changed crazy enough that MCU doesn't happen, there's every possibility that MCU is still kind of in a vacuum apart from that, ends up still happening. Because, this is unrelated to that, and the only difference you'd have is Fantastic Four continues to make movies and is popular, where it didn't before, because Disney didn't even get the rights to use that until somewhat recently. So MCU still could have happened almost exactly as it did. It just wouldn't have Chris Evans. You'd just have somebody else playing Captain America. But it's also possible that it would have, affected the trajectory of superhero things for maybe the worst if those movies, continue to be kind of as mediocre as they were, but were, still getting made and popular enough. I don't know. I don't know that it would have actually really affected that much. Or if you would have kind of gone with the Fantastic Four movies, if you would have kind of gone back and forth relatively the way X-Men did, where you had a couple of okay ones and then you have like a really bad one, and then they, changed course and were able to get them going again. And maybe like X-Men, it would lose its sense of continuity by like the third or fourth movie, but still keep trucking along somehow. I don't know. But I feel like just, in that bubble, you would have had this massive difference in Fantastic Four where more people would be familiar with it, and there'd be, like actually one franchise for that movie that went for a long time, or for that movie series. But I don't know how different everything else would be. Except obviously Chris Evans' career would be a lot different. And it's possible he would get pigeonholed with that and wouldn't have a career afterwards. I guess that could have happened.
Yeah, because there would not be enough range. That's interesting. He had done a lot of stuff.
Would he get typecast Would he get typecast for comedy after that?
Yeah, he was typecast for a little bit, but then he started. I think, Cap really shook him out of it. It would be very interesting. X-Men wouldn't be all over the place. So we would get two, if we're just like completely reversing it, we get two X-Men movies, and then they reboot, and then they get a new indie director to do it, and then it bombs because there's studio interference, and we only have 3 X-Men movies.
Yeah, unless they intermingled like that and X-Men still, chugged along and somehow had more or less the same history. I don't know.
I don't know if you could get as many, because there's so many X-Men characters in Fantastic Four. How do you get that many? Like, what are the? I guess you get like a Silver Surfer movie. You get like that.
Well, there's plenty you could do with FF, but I think it would be a lot more likely that you'd get a trilogy, and then either it would kind of fall off, or there'd be, like you said, maybe like a Silver Surfer spinoff or something, or they would do that 4th movie and it wasn't very good and it bombed. That seems the likelihood. The only way that it changes things, like overall a lot more, DJ, is if the shared universe thing happens before MCU and is pretty successful, because that could affect the way Marvel Studios competes, because now they're not setting records, they're not setting precedents.
Yeah, maybe the
Now they got to
Marvel
react
universe,
to something like DCEU did.
well, maybe MCU starts out more comedic from the beginning instead of turning into that after Avengers and Guardians, because Fantastic Four is the big, huge thing and it's comedic.
AMC says, but X-Men was already popular pre the movies, whereas FF wasn't.
Yeah, I can see that.
Well, that's true, which is partly why it's hard to see. Like I feel like that first FF movie would have to be a lot better and grab people a lot harder than it did.
Yeah,
in order for this to even happen. So when you're like, what if that was a really successful film franchise? I feel like those first two movies have to look quite a bit different.
Yeah, it would have to be Spider-Man.
Yeah, and they'd have to be more substantial dramatically.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they couldn't just feel like goofball comedies to people. There'd have to be more of a story in that first movie than the FF get powers and then they have powers.
Speaking of story, they would have to be directed by someone besides Tim Story.
That's it. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay.
Sam Raimi gets Fantastic Four, Tim Story gets Spider-Man, and the world is forever changed.
Fantastic Four as directed by Mark Stephen Johnson.
Sam Raimi could do it, man. There's a lot of body horror in Fantastic Four he could have played around with.
Well, absolutely, and he had that early Stan Lee sensibility. He would have been right for that movie.
Yeah.
In some ways, it fits him better.
Better than Spider-Man, yeah, because
on
it did like the
paper.
weird like things coming out of Spider-Man's hands and like the Doc Ock scene, all that like body horror stuff.
And the mad science. Like, go back and watch Darkman, and then get back to me about him doing Fantastic Four. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
All right, moving right along. What else do we have from Patreon? We're going to be lucky if we get through all of Patreon before the hour's out, but go ahead.
Justin Hayes, good old bag. What is your favorite and or least favorite kinds of donut, and from where?
So shockingly, this has changed for me. And by the way, speaking of guilty pleasures, so I have
In the entertainment industry.
I have been working really hard this last year especially, but even some before that, trying to get fit and lost a lot of weight. I've been trying to bulk up for the movie I'm making this year. I fell off a little bit over the holidays. I guess that happens to the best of us. But I'm trying to get back on track. I'm working out a lot more again. Just over this last these last couple days, DJ. Trying to get back into it. I've still been working out some, but not like I was right before Christmas. And anyway, I mentioned that to say my biggest guilty pleasure, the thing that's hardest to get away from these days, is donuts. Weirdly.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like that's my weakness, man. That's my kryptonite. And what I go after has changed a lot. I never used to care about apple fritters. It's my favorite thing now.
Oh.
Freaking love a good apple fritter.
You're getting old, man. We
right?
Start liking the old man.
Is that an old man donut? Well, screw it. I'm not eating that anymore.
No, it's good. It's probably more substantial and more fruit-based than, I don't know. I think our tastes...
Oh, I'm sure that apple fritter is real good for me.
No, I'm not saying it's good for you. It's just a certain... I don't know. I feel like it is a certain more classic taste. I actually have an answer to this.
Yeah. What's yours?
Mighty Fine... He says, from where?
From
Mighty
where?
Fine Donuts. Little tiny shop in Erie, Pennsylvania. Still there from like when I was born there 30 years ago. We used to go there. That was our place when we lived there. And every time we go visit the family, I haven't gone up to Pennsylvania in a long time, actually. Last time I went was when I got engaged to my wife at Niagara Falls, but which was a long time ago. But yeah, every time we used to go up there on family trips, we'd have to stop at Mighty Fine on the way out and pick up some donuts. And my favorite donut is a cream-filled donut. So you got the chocolate on top, cream filled in the middle. And my least favorite donut, he says, is the custard-filled ones, because you think it's going to be a cream-filled one, and then freaking yellow custard comes out, and it's disgusting.
Yeah,
it's
I'm with you though. That's gross. Yeah, I like Bavarian cream-filled donuts. I like some filled donuts too. Sure. I think my least favorite is kind of in line with what you're talking about. Besides a box of 12 starving crazed weasels, nobody wants that. But I think my least favorite, that was a Weird Al reference. I think my least favorite is jelly filled donuts. I don't like of any kind.
Yeah.
That's
That's another deceitful should be cream filled. You should have put cream in there and you put something gross in there. Get out of here. What are you doing?
Yeah, and this is a little rant. As far as like where you get them from, there's a mom and pop place up the street that hardly anybody watching this will be close enough to go to. That's what is that called? Is it Mr. D's? No, I think that's a chain, isn't it? It's something D's. I can't remember what it's called, but they have. So I said apple fritter. My actual honest God favorite right now is a thing you can only get there. I think they make a pineapple fritter. And that's killer, man.
Don't bring up the pineapple debates again.
But you know me and my pineapple.
It doesn't matter how you serve Cap a pineapple. He's down.
Dude, I was trepidatious about it. I thought that would be the one thing. No, it's amazing. But anyway, this will be a little rant. But when you get, if you're gonna put filling in a Long John, you gotta tell people it's in there. Cause I've been to shops like Quick Trip has decent donuts, and I can't remember if it's them or somebody else, but there's somebody that puts filling in a Long John, and they don't tell you that that's filled. So when you buy, and like I like some filled donuts, but you don't want to bite into a thing you don't know is gonna have filling.
Oh, that's
and then there's filling.
Surprising.
And my wife doesn't like filled donuts, and she loves Long John. So you'll get a Long John, she'll take a bite, and then like, oh, she can't eat that. You gotta label that crap. It's very important.
I will say one thing on the pineapple note. I was very, very against putting pineapple on any kind of hot, savory dish. But I had a jerk chicken hoagie recently from Mellow Mushroom, which is a chain here, and had pineapple on it. It was actually pretty good.
That sounds delicious.
Pretty good.
But I'm very predictable.
Jamaican jerk. This. Chicken hoagie.
Okay, is there any chance? We got 15 minutes before the break.
We got a real quick one here from Sakib. If you could pitch one project for James Gunn's DCU, what would it be? That's a quick one.
Yeah, if I only got one, yeah, I'd probably avoid the stuff that I assume will actually happen at some point, unless I just, was arrogant enough to think I was the only person that could do it well. But no, some of you guys that have watched me a lot will not be surprised when I say this, but it's Resurrection Man.
Oh, that's a good fit, yeah.
It's definitely Resurrection Man.
Yeah, that's great. That's the perfect answer.
And I still think
satisfying.
I still think there's a chance that he actually adapts that at some point, but I don't think it'll be for a movie. I think it'll be for like a HBO show or something.
Yeah.
Like a Max show.
Connor, I did not know you were a donut maker for 9 months. That's interesting.
I can't remember if you told me that or not.
I feel like you may have told me that, but I didn't remember immediately. That doesn't sound like a fun job.
All right, what do we have? Two more of these left?
We have 2 Patreons, yes.
All right, go ahead. Let's do the Patreons, and then let's try to get the other couple Super Chats knocked out, if at all possible, and then I'll talk about news after the break. Go ahead.
All right, Carl Maxey, did you guys see the video of the new female director for the new Star Wars? He says director, but I think he means movie or series. In an interview talking about the documentary she made, stating that she loves making men feel uncomfortable in her movies, not something you want to say among Star Wars fans.
Well, I don't know what I really want to say about that beyond, like, I heard about that. I didn't look into it, so I don't have a dog in this. I don't really want to comment too much, except to say that nearly everything that gets announced for Star Wars lately ends up never coming to fruition and not actually happening. I will agree on the point that we are Disney is doing a lot of counterintuitive stuff with Star Wars and seeming to forget its base or not really care about its base, and that kind of thing is just going to turn off people that want good old-fashioned Star Wars again. They don't seem that interested in doing that, and a lot of those people have jumped ship, and it's gonna be a while. It's gonna take I don't know what it'll take to bring some of those people back to the franchise, but we'll talk about Star Wars again a little bit later, because there is some Star Wars news, and there is a thing that was announced that I think will actually happen that I'll talk about. But yeah, a lot of people are complaining that the Star Wars announcements lately seem to all just be like, Kathleen Kennedy pet projects, where she's just kind of, creating like analogs for herself. I'm hearing a lot of that, and that I don't know. That's a lot of the discourse surrounding that whole thing, and they just don't seem that interested in money with Star Wars these days.
Yeah, I don't want to speak on that because I don't know anything about what it was said. Alex Barron has already said that was taken totally out of context. She was talking about women in Pakistan.
Yeah,
so
I don't know.
But Hot Soup wants to know, if you could take any terrible movie and greenlight a remake in the hopes that it would be good this time, what movie would you give a second chance to?
I could mention a few, but I'm going to be brief. The first thing that comes to mind is Pixels.
Ugh.
I mean, there's no reason that couldn't have been cool. Your basic premise is alien invasion solved by old school retro video games. There's no reason you can't make a cool movie out of that. There's two big things you do with a remake with that. The first thing, obviously, is you have Adam Sandler nowhere near it, and the second thing is you do a little bit more research, or you actually put people. Pardon me. You actually put people in charge that know their old school arcade games, and you talk about more than just they all had a pattern. But I thought there was a real fun premise there, and I was actually excited to see that. And I went and saw that in the theater, and that was a mistake. But I almost made a bigger mistake, because I almost brought my family to see that, and that would have been a disaster. So I'm glad I didn't do that.
Well, I brought my family to watch Wonka, and that was a disaster.
Which is funny, because I'm hearing good things about that, but I don't trust anything anymore, because yeah, I know I always say this, and I don't mean to be cynical, but I feel like a lot of movies just aren't made for me anymore, and I'll go see a thing that everybody's raving about, and I'm like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. And this seems to be one of those things, according to DJ.
Well, yeah, and I don't have that. I've liked a few things this year. But yeah, man, I was excited for that. I took the kids, and they were just bored out of their minds the whole time.
I liked a few things last year, but
last year.
But I didn't see all that much either.
I was just I wasn't so bummed after. I was just literally kind of depressed. Grace was trying to talk to me, and I was just whatever. Let's go take a nap or something. I don't know. I was in such a bad mood after it, just because it was so just nothing. I was just numb.
I had no interest in seeing that.
Literally nothing.
And I probably won't now. I was back and forth on maybe I'll get, and then I started hearing some kind of positive rumblings about it, and I was like, I still don't trust it. Maybe I'll just watch it on video. I don't know if I'll ever bother with it at this point.
You might like it. Most people are, so you might like it.
Yeah, but I already didn't care, and you gave me a really good excuse not to look at it. So I don't know. I don't mean to be like that, but I didn't need a prequel with that.
Yeah, well, it goes out of its way to try not at all. It has no interest in being a prequel. It completely is a other universe. It's a farce universe. It's not even trying to be the same characters or the same thing.
Does it feel like the CW's Wonka, where it's the prequel reimagining thing?
Yeah, it's a prequel. It feels like there was a Matilda musical that came out, a Netflix thing that came out a couple of years ago that I actually liked it, but it was completely different, and not even, it's a total reimagining. That's what this felt like. It's you can't even get to where the movie starts from the end of this. There's people just gone. It's super weird. I don't
guess I care about that so much if it's good. I'd almost rather that than it's pretending to be in that continuity, but you can't buy it at all. I'd almost rather that, especially because I never bought from just the trailers alone. I never bought that actor in that role. I was like, that guy does not turn into Gene Wilder. There's no possible way. And so if it just goes its own way, that's cool unless you don't like it.
Exactly. And I readjusted my, because it tells you that very clearly from the very beginning. He's just got magic, and then it's okay, so it's a completely different thing. I readjusted my expectations, and then it was just flat as a board.
Jeff Gearhart says it's the Bates Motel of Wonka, except we love Bates Motel.
Yeah, Bates Motel's great.
Cinegraphic CW's The Factory.
Yeah, I just found it super dull.
That's great.
Yeah, if only we knew what town Charlie lived in, we could name it after that. But they're in some weird in nondescript They don't know what country it's in. It's weird.
In a universe where we're told there are 100 million people in the world. That's it.
That's all.
I think that was the line. DJ and I have been threatening to do a commentary on that forever, and we want to prepare for it a little bit, which is why we haven't done it yet. We were gonna. I was talking about maybe actually trying to do that this week, and I'm like, I need to take some time and go back and research some things, because the history of that movie is fascinating. It's just been too long since I've looked at it.
Oh yeah, it's very interesting. Like the director is like a documentary director, which is super weird and actually works because it feels much more grounded. At least than this one did.
Well, and the way that starts is basically just an advertisement.
Oh yeah.
And all
yeah,
of
I gotta read, like, that box set back there comes with basically like a textbook about the movie. So I gotta read some of that before we do that.
Yeah, if memory serves, I think, like, I don't know, it's been too long. This is why I don't want to talk about it yet. I think it gets greenlit to like sell the candy for the Wonka company or something. I gotta go back and look at that again.
Oh, sweet.
Oh, guilty pleasure more recently, the Marvels.
Yeah.
Because I'm the only person
feel
on
very
the planet
guilty about that
that
too.
gave that a positive review. Yeah. While I had Connor just shouting in my face like vitriolically, "This is the word." No, he was not vitriolic, but he hated it. I just love that I was able to give the sign flip review I gave with that. And he's like, "Yeah, this is trash."
All right, knock these out real quick.
Let's hit these super chats and then I'll do some news when we get back.
All right, Mr. Cool. Hey, Cap, it's midnight over here, so it's my birthday. Turn
Happy
30.
birthday!
Mania Hulk to celebrate. That's it.
Apologies,
Specific?
Sorry, my microphone just got all messed up, and I missed about half of that. So would you restate the question? The gong messed up. We got gonged here. Go ahead.
Hey, Cap, it's midnight over here, so it's my birthday. Turned 30, and I'm doing Marvel Mania Hulk to celebrate.
Oh, wow.
Big Hulk fan.
Well, I'm honored if he's saying he's watching Marvel Mania to celebrate. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what to add, but that's cool. You know what? I meant to put the 03 Hulk movie on the short list for last year for the Rewind commentaries, because it would have been the anniversary for that too, and I missed out on that. Things got busy enough that I had to put that show on hiatus for the last couple months, and so I didn't get around to that one. But if he's talking about Ang Lee's Hulk, so I shall have to try to do that this year.
Yeah, I like to get the 4K of that. They released a 4K last year, I think, and Connor got it, and I was, oh man, I should get it. I haven't watched that in a while. He put another super chat in, said, literally bought myself Hulk 2003 specifically for Marvel Mania because I've honestly always wanted to listen to that specific one. No idea why.
Well, and if memory serves, that Marvel Mania was really weird because that was before we were live streaming everything, of course, and we had a corrupted file or something, and we got part of it recorded, but like that last half hour of it got messed up, and we didn't realize it until it was done. So we didn't re-record the whole thing. Eric and I just went back and re-recorded like the last half hour of it.
Yeah, which must have been super weird to jump back in.
It was. We had a couple of shows that we had to completely redo. I think Civil War might have been one of those. I can't remember, and I think that happened once or twice in Batmania too. But
oh wow, yeah, that sucks. That's gotta be so annoying. You're like, I felt like I did really well, and I gotta think of everything I said again.
That's part of the reason I live stream now, because most of the time, like even when you have technical difficulties, if you were able to broadcast it, it will be there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's nice.
And so, it's more raw. You're not editing anything. It's technically more half-assed in its way, I guess. But it's gonna be there.
That's the bare minimum.
There's more that can go wrong in the moment, but there's less that can go wrong after the fact. And it's more irritating when you don't even know there's a problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like when your mic is muted for 30 minutes. That's the worst.
That's never happened to me.
All right, one more super chat.
My
Carl
mic got
Maxey.
muted for a full 5 minutes on the Christmas stream.
I was watching that. It was great. My favorite part was when someone pointed out the fact that you you turned it back on to cough and then you muted it again.
And then I came back and somebody, I finally noticed a comment where somebody was like, Cap, you're muted. And I didn't know for how long. So I was like, I don't even know how to backtrack. And because I was saying, you'll just have to take my word for it, some kind of interesting things.
Oh, the most interesting things.
Yeah, saying. Exactly. Definitely the most insightful things in that night stream were in those 5 minutes. And then I come back and somebody was like, for the first 2 minutes of that, I thought you were just letting us listen to this really great music.
Yeah, I was working, I think, and I was like, well, he hasn't talked in a while. He's enjoying himself.
How many more super chats do we have right now?
We have just got the one from Carl Maxey.
Okay, let's tackle that, and then we'll go on a break, and I'll come back, and we'll be on a break. You know what? Friends I see as kind of guilty pleasure now, too, because I know a lot of people that hate it.
That's true. That's a good one.
It's very mainstream, but there's this, and I'm not calling people that don't like it, elitist or anything, but there is definitely a contingency of people that are like, yeah, that's overrated, and it's too, I don't know, what's the right word, DJ? Like sanitized or safe or.
Yeah, just like least common denominator. But I would argue and urge those people to maybe watch the first 2 seasons. And if you just can't get past how big it is and the hype around it, then it's not going to help. But like the first 2 seasons are more offbeat and weird, and like the writers were like doing something, and then it gets more mainstream as it gets super popular. But like you got the first season, Joey's in like a play all about like him getting a sex change, and he wants a peanut, or what is it? All he needs is a schwang.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
it's like so weird. It's like. It gets much more mainstream as it goes along, but like those first 2 seasons are kind of it kind of like most sitcoms, it kind of evolves into different shows as it goes along.
Well, it's basically REM, right? It starts with Requiem and it turns into Shiny Happy People. I mean, that's Friends, really.
Yeah. But anyway, Carl
Maxey,
some
people also just don't think it's funny.
Oh yeah, and that's fine.
Like. Sitcoms, I mean, humor in general is subjective, of course.
Yeah,
but
and it definitely evolves and depends on kind of what generation you're in and when you see it. Like most of us saw it at high school and we had different tastes.
Well, I have a hard time appreciating for myself how much I like that show legitimately. And how much of it is nostalgic, because I grew up really hard with that show. But then there are things that I loved at that time that don't hold up great, and I still will go back to Friends. So
yeah, it's the same thing for me. A girl got me into it in high school, and then I watched it with Grace when we started dating. So it's a lot of nostalgia with it. It's just it's like a cozy show to just like have on and not fully pay attention, but it's just like, I don't know.
Well, for me, it's also nostalgic for that time period because I don't know, like that's a period in my own life, like especially by like 95, 96, that I just miss a lot. Those were just really, really good years for my childhood or whatever. And so like I'm nostalgic for that show, but that show is like the best snapshot for me of that time period. Like I remember time and place and where I was most when I'm looking at that show over anything else from that period.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, and it's not like I think it's. Yeah, it's tough because I'm like yelling at the screen the whole time I watch it too. Like, this is ridiculous. That's stupid. That's not consistent with his character from the earlier seasons. But like, it's not. That's not why I'm watching. I don't think it's like a genuinely like well written show. Like, I think the first 2 seasons of The Office are actually a good story. But like, it's just, I don't know. It's just cozy. It's just like a sitcom. That's what sitcoms are for.
Yeah, except for the ones that are all about deconstructing it, and then that got old very quickly.
Yeah.
That got old faster than deconstructing superhero movies, like or sorry, superheroes. Like, God, if you're sick of like evil Superman,
yeah, you can't. You can only do that so many times. Maybe once. Maybe we should have just left it.
Anyway, let's
hit
that super chat real quick.
Carl Maxey, do you think comedians hosting awards shows are dying out because the elite can't take a joke for 2 hours? No likes, safe comedy.
That's completely over my head. I mean, I don't pay attention to award shows really at all anymore, and so I just don't have a dog in that. Apologies, but I don't have any context. I can't really respond to that. I mean, that's a complaint I've heard a couple times in like random YouTube videos that happen to go off on that in a side tangent or whatever. Like podcasts I listen to and stuff that'll complain about comedians being like out of touch and trying to make elites happy or whatever. But I can't speak to any of that because I haven't paid attention to it.
Yeah. I'm not sure why he's saying that. I mean, I just watched the Golden Globes over the weekend, and there was a comedian hosting, and he bombed so hard. It was horrible, and that wasn't because they couldn't take jokes. It was just because he didn't say anything funny. It was he got like so uncomfortable with no one laughing that he started like blaming the writers. He was like, "Hey, I just got this job 10 days ago, and I only wrote some of these jokes, and trust me, they're the ones you're laughing at." Like, it was bad. Like it was
wow,
so bad. It was
wow. That could be entertaining in its own right, I guess.
It was funny because of how hard he was bombing.
Wow,
so good. But yeah, I don't think they're dying out. I mean, they've been doing it. As long as you're funny, people don't care. Like,
I think interest in award shows in general is waned really hard, but also that's part of just the people not taking the whole system as seriously as they used to.
Yeah, maybe so.
I think, but I would be surprised if suddenly there was this big pivot where it's like, yeah, we're not going to go to comedians anymore because they bomb so hard. Like, what else do you do but tell jokes? Like what else do you do but do kind of late night monologues on stage?
Yeah, I think you just got to get some.
That kind of thing has to be funny.
The other problem with this is it was just like a nobody. Like, no one knew who he was. He's a comedian, but he's like, I mean, his name was Joe Key. Like, I don't know who he is.
Yeah, what we tend to do when we get new people and the ratings aren't good or their performance is kind of hated is we just go to an older host that's done it 35 times and is like pushing retirement age. Like that's what we tend to do now.
Yeah, I think like, well, who is it? What is it? Jimmy Kimmel has done it like a million times. I can't remember.
Yeah, and then for the Oscars, it's what's his face? I can't think of his name. It'll come to me later. It'll come to me when it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. You just got to.
Billy Crystal. Billy Crystal came back and forth a bunch of times.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to get someone that people like. That's he can just keep things going, keep things moving. He doesn't need to like steal the whole show, but just get you through it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. People seem to like Hugh Jackman when he did it.
Oh yeah. He's likable.
Well,
we did it.
We fumbled our way through that. Now it's time for a break. We'll be back in about 3.5 minutes, folks, and then we will get to part 2 and get to the aforementioned in the title news roundup. So look forward to that. We'll see you in just a little bit. Hey folks, welcome back to the Captain Logan Show. It is time for part 2, the second half of tonight's show, and we're going to get into our news roundup now. DJ, I've got 6 quick news stories I wanted to tackle real briefly. If anybody wants me to kind of elaborate on these later, feel free to ask a question or make a comment about it. I'm going to try not to spend a ton of time on these. And DJ, I forgot to set this up so that folks can see the articles. So I'm probably not going to show the articles tonight. I'm just going to mention them real briefly. First of all, remember a couple 3 months ago when or maybe it was even longer ago, when we did that show about how it was looking like maybe for sure Blumhouse was actually really going to be making the new Spawn movie. I am not going to believe that that is a thing until I'm walking into the theater to sit down, and even then, maybe the credits will run, and then there'll just be a sign that says "Go home." So we've got, this comes from ScreenGeek.net, whatever that is, but there's a bunch of outlets reporting on this. McFarlane, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but McFarlane has a quote from an interview recently, in just the last couple of days, where he is saying that Blumhouse is dragging their feet too much, and he doesn't like how long it's taking for his Spawn movie to get made. So if they don't get it off the ground this year, he's gonna yank it from them, privately get it funded, and make it, and then try to sell it to distributors. Which my response is, well, why the hell didn't you just do that in the first place? This movie is never getting made.
He probably tried and couldn't get anyone to buy it.
That's what it seemed like. I mean, he's been trying to do that apparently for like 20 years. And I still wonder how much of this is naturally, of course, ego-driven, and how much of it is he's not happy that they're not filming exactly his script and letting him direct it like he wanted to in the first place. He says that they're supposed to be giving him the script this month. He's going to be able to read their script, and then they're supposed to finally get it off the ground. And again, if they don't start filming this year, he's not going to let them make it. My prediction? No one will be surprised by this prediction. He's going to take one look at that script and yank it from him. That's what's. This movie's never getting made.
I'm sorry, man. I want a good Spawn movie for you. It won't get made till he's long dead.
Yeah, well, and I don't even know if it'll be good if they make it, but it's liable to be better than, of course, his like ridiculously lengthy script that he refused to cut anything out of, and with him behind the camera, since the man's never made a movie. Just folks, take it from the horse's mouth. I spent 2 years of my life reviewing most of, at the time, the Spawn comics that existed, and I'm telling you, he's dry, he's boring, he doesn't even, he doesn't understand storytelling, and he doesn't read fiction, and you can tell. He is the greatest comic artist of all time and one of the worst writers of all time. You cannot let him make a movie with an altered script. And there might have been some cool ideas in his script. He usually has really good thematic notions, but has no idea how to execute them. And his characters kind of all sound the same, and they're really super wordy, and they're just dry and boring, and nothing will happen for the longest time.
I actually watched a weird interview with him recently that came out. I don't know if you saw that. I don't know if it's Variety or something, but his philosophy literally is, I could sell a comic written by my dog with good art, but I could not sell a comic that had the best story ever, but was drawn by my mom or something. Like, that's exactly what he says.
And he's been saying that for 30 years. So that's the.
He just prioritizes the visuals. Like, that's his thing. So don't let him write a movie.
Well, and he also, and I said this a lot during Spawn year, he also writes backwards, because his philosophy is stories should be about a stagnated status quo where nothing in the present ever changes and characters don't need to move forward. All of the action, all of the change and the rising action happens in the past. So literally, he's about continual retconning. And that's his idea of continuity. I mean, it's just absolutely bizarre. But to your point, the philosophy in the early 90s was art over story, which is so ironic because a lot of the art was kind of crappy compared to a lot of the great stuff we have now. So somehow, with more story-driven comics in more recent years, you've also got better art. And it's been a more like writer-driven medium, but the art got a lot better. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's also still some really crappy art, but like, it's really interesting that like the Jim Lees and the Rob Liefelds were like pushing everything forward. Like they were the reason comics were booming in the early 90s. It was all about the art, but both the art and the stories tended to be kind of crappy. So anyway, that's what's going on with the Spawn movie front. Let's move over to Star Trek now. There's been yet another announcement for a movie in the Abrams 09 Trek universe. This is the fourth of these that I think, third or fourth that we've had in the last several years. It's hard to say if any of this stuff will ever finally get made. And then, of course, we had like that Quentin Tarantino thing that has fallen apart and probably will never happen now. Apparently, a fourth Abrams Trek movie is still supposed to happen. They're still talking about that, and this is a separate project, what I'm about to mention here. This comes from Deadline. Paramount expands Star Trek universe with new film. Andor's Toby Haynes, tapped to direct with Seth Grahame-Smith writing. That is a duo I don't immediately hate on paper. I've heard really great things about Andor. I've not watched it yet, but if that show is as great as everybody says, because people that don't like it say it's boring, and people that don't mind that slow pacing say that the storytelling is really great and it's actually thoughtful and kind of thought-provoking. I'm like, well, that sounds right for Star Trek. And Seth Grahame-Smith has an okay track record. I think he wrote the Lego Batman movie. I don't immediately look at that movie and go, that guy should be doing Star Trek, but like, he's written decent movies before. So I don't hate that pairing, but here's what it's supposed to be. It's apparently in I don't know, my eyes immediately glaze over when I hear this is your log line, but it's an origin story for that universe. That's supposed to be set several decades before 09, so it would not be that cast. Those characters wouldn't even be born yet, most of them, and my big speculation is, okay, what exactly does that mean? Is it like Birth of the Federation? Is it Earth Romulan War? That's my guess. Like my bet, if I had to put money on this, is they're dusting off the idea or even maybe the script for either a movie or even the trilogy that was pitched back before 09 happened for a 22nd century Earth Romulan War movie. That actually sounded really epic and cool, and when they say origin, what makes my ears perk up and think that maybe that's what they're making is that was supposed to be like Kirk's grandfather, I think. And so it would be an origin in the sense that it would be like the first Kirk, right? To go much earlier than that, if it's like, really, really early Starfleet, would be odd just because, and I'm quibbling over semantics here, but they said decades, not a century. So like to go back any farther than Earth Romulan War, I would be really surprised by. But anyway, so just for, Star Trek folks that know what I'm talking about, that's my guess, is that it'll be like an Earth Romulan War thing. I don't know what else that would be that they would think anybody would be interested in. It's odd that it's in the 09 continuity, because I don't know why they would think anybody would be real excited to see anything specifically in that continuity that's not with that cast. And anything that you would set during that period could also easily be prime continuity. So it's really odd that that's what they're talking about. But anyway, I'll actually be sort of surprised if that happens, because so much stuff has been pitched for Star Trek movies that has never happened. So Who knows with that? Going from Star Trek to Star Wars, this is from Variety. Star Wars announces new movie The Mandalorian and Grogu from director Jon Favreau, which just reeks of desperation to me. It's like third season Mandalorian people lost complete interest in, and and I haven't watched it. People say that so grain of salt, but people say it looks a lot cheaper. We have just drug our feet with the Baby Yoda thing. That has never gone anywhere. And Baby Yoda is precisely the only thing Disney has made money on with Star Wars since The Last Jedi. Like the only thing. And so of course they've got to milk that if there's anything left there to milk. I think there's every plausibility that movie will actually be pretty cool and will be kind of the final big ender for the whole Mandalorian thing. And it's sad that when Mandalorian was at its height with season 2, and it looked like it was going to go in a lot of different directions, and of course they immediately had to try to oversaturate it, and oh man, people are really liking this one Star Wars thing we're doing, so we'll almost pretend like it's its own continuity, and we'll spin it off, and now we're gonna have the Boba Fett show, and we're gonna have the Ahsoka show, and et cetera, and people didn't really care for those things, and so now all of that has been condensed all the way down to we're gonna do one big screen movie, and hopefully that makes a few dollars, so somebody will care about Star Wars moving forward. So again, recent desperation. I think the project itself might be good, but it's really sad that that's what this whole thing has turned into, and I don't expect them to learn the right lessons from any of this, but maybe we'll get one more cool last hurrah for that whole thing. It's really weird how fast that whole thing fell apart. And also, you couldn't come up with a more creative title than The Mandalorian and Grogu. Like, when I say that, DJ, that's not what the movie's about. That's the name of the film.
Wow. Why don't you just call it The Mandalorian and Baby Yoda if you're going to be that, like, least common denominator? Because most people probably don't even know who Grogu is. The people that you're marketing to that just buy stuffed animals for their kids.
No, and I want to see a demographic breakdown. I want to see the percentage of people that have bought Baby Yoda stuff that have never seen that show.
Yeah, there was a Halloween around our neighborhood when we were trick-or-treating with the kids. Someone has a little blow-up Grogu outside their house. And I was like... My kids know what it is, kind of. I don't know where they hear that. I guess at school or something. But
it's that popular merchandise.
It's just ubiquitous.
Well, it's a new Tickle Me Elmo, but probably a lot of those kids watch Sesame Street. I'm just saying.
Well, yeah, it's like Hello Kitty is what it is, because
that's exactly
no one
right.
knows even what that is, because it wasn't even like a thing here. It was just merchandise.
It's basically turned into a logo, right? It's like the Punisher or Batman. It's just a thing people wear now.
Yeah, it's very strange.
Isn't it? It's very strange. So it'll be interesting to see if anybody comes out of the woodwork to see that because they've bought that merchandise or seen it on store shelves but never bothered watching The Mandalorian. It's like, that's the first Star Wars thing in the theater that kind of looks cool, and they'll go watch it. And they've never seen any of the rest of that. Like, how do you even make that movie where you don't have to have seen anything from the show before that?
Well, apparently nothing has happened with Grogu. Their relationship is exactly the same since the first season, so I guess you don't really have to catch up. Well,
since the second anyway. That's the thing, is there's at least enough development in the second season, because I'm sure if Favreau's doing a movie, Luke Skywalker's probably in it, so you're at least gonna want to have seen the first 2 seasons. I would think. And people are also really surprised that Favreau is back, because I've heard contradictory things about this, but apparently he wasn't involved at all in the 3rd season. I haven't looked real deeply into this, but apparently Favreau's supposed to direct it, and I don't know how involved Filoni even is with it. So that's a turn I wouldn't have expected with that. But I'll go on record to say if that comes out, I'll go see it, because I like Favreau most of the time. And so I think that project could actually be cool, but it's
the Lion King's notwithstanding.
Sure. No, and I mean, Cowboys and Aliens. He's made stuff I don't like, but
yeah.
This comes from Variety. 28 Days Later sequel in the works. Danny Boyle, Alex Garland reteamed to launch new trilogy with 28 Years Later, which is an inevitable thing to me. I've been waiting a long, long time for the announcement of 28 Years Later. Of course that has to get made. I knew there was no way I was going to my grave without at least hearing that was announced. 28 days later, 28 weeks later, I talked to Austin about this. He was like, and Jason said this too. They were like, what happened to 28 months later? We just skipped that. You're going to make a new trilogy and you didn't start with months? Your trilogy should have been 28 months later, years later, decades later. You could have gone to the far-flung future. Now we're gonna be in the future, but it's gonna be by like 7 or 8 years, I think, because that first movie's in 2003. So we just really slightly in the future, and by the time it comes out, only by probably like 4 years.
Yeah, the not too distant future.
Exactly. That's what they should say. It is 28 weeks later is a mixed bag. I didn't hate it, but it's not a great movie. Renner is really good in it. But 28 Days Later is my favorite zombie movie. As a lot of you guys know, I am kind of a closeted zombie fan. I guess zombies are also maybe guilty pleasure for me. Yeah, exactly. But I can't help but be a little bit excited about this one, DJ. Because it's nice that the original team is coming back for it, and if you're gonna do Years Later, it's cool that it being a decades later sequel, we took some time away from it and we're coming back to it, so that's nice. And I'm trepidatious about the trilogy thing. Every time I hear that, I'm like, okay, there's every possibility that you stretch it out too far and that you don't have enough of a plan in the first place and all of that. I would be more excited if this announcement was just a movie and not a trilogy. But beyond that reservation, I'm a little excited about them.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad.
That could be cool. This comes from New York Times. I'm bringing this up because people were asking me about this on other streams. Boy 13 is believed to be the first to beat Tetris. I'm sure you've heard about this.
What? No, not at all.
Yeah, so he was streaming. There's this kid that's in the Tetris competition community. And he streams Tetris all the time, and he managed to freeze the game. He was playing the original NES version, so not Tengen, but the other one. And he was, and he got far enough into the game, farther than the game thought you could get, that he froze it. So he has technically, officially beaten Tetris. And I saw an interview with him on a news program. I don't know which news channel it was, but it was kind of neat what they did. They brought in the CEO of the Tetris company, but also the Russian creator of Tetris, and he got to meet them on stream. So that whole thing was kind of neat. But yeah, I don't really have anything to add to that whole thing except it's nuts that it took 40 years and somebody finally crashed Tetris. It's pretty neat.
That's crazy. Yeah, 13-year-old.
It's cool that a kid did it. Yeah.
As many millions of people have played that game.
And the Tetris community is ravenous, man. Like that is a relatively still popular streaming, internet thing. There's whole YouTube channels devoted to Tetris strategies and how to get as far as you can get. And this kid, he's Jason's age.
That's crazy.
Technically beat Tetris. So kind of a big deal.
That's awesome. Now they got to make a biopic about him, another Tetris biopic.
That's the sequel. That's the Tetris sequel.
The beginning of Tetris, the end of Tetris.
we bring back what's his name? The actor from Rocket Man that's in that movie. We bring him back, but we make him Yeah, we put like elderly man makeup on him. Finally, this comes from Time Magazine. Obviously, this is another thing that everybody will know about already, but people have been asking me to weigh in on. And I honestly, I gotta say, DJ, I don't know what to think about this. I don't know what this means for the future or anything. Mickey Mouse now in the public domain, 95 years. After its inception, Disney managed to lobby for years to get the laws changed over and over again to keep pushing back public domain. They finally apparently couldn't do it anymore. I've heard people say it's crazy that they didn't try harder to stop this. I'm gonna assume they did, and they finally just lost the battle with it. And there are a number of other characters that within the next decade are going to go into the public domain, at least early versions of them, including Donald Duck and Superman finally, and a number of other things. So not just Disney things.
Yeah, this is very mixed feelings about, not even that mixed. Like, yeah, I know it's good. It's not good for companies to be able to hold on to these for, like, the creators and stuff. But at the same time, I don't want anyone and their dog to be able to, like, drag these characters through, like, immediately first day, like everyone knew it was going to be first, like the day that this was announced, or everyone knew it was coming, the day that it happened, some stupid horror movie got announced, just like Blood and Honey. It's just like
a trailer was dropped. There was some.
Yeah, they had it ready to go.
There was some controversy about the fact that it was being made before the copyright went up, and I'm like, copyright law is so convoluted and complicated and impossible to navigate. I can't begin to tell you if what they did with that was illegal or not. And not only was there a movie announced in a trailer, but also a video game, and both of these were horror things.
Yeah, I don't know. It's fine. It's whatever.
it's whatever.
It's annoying.
No, I have very, very mixed feelings about it too. When just as far as as I always say, I don't want to get super political or anything, but like as far as like personal freedoms and things go, it makes sense that there would be a statute of limitations on that, where like you want the people that actually made the thing to be protected, but especially once they're long gone, is it really fair that nobody else except for the big company with all the buying power that owns it just because it was made there or because they purchased it at some point? Like shouldn't those laws be there to protect like creatives more than big monopolistic type businesses, right? So like I don't feel bad for Disney, the company that this happened, of course, and in fact, I think it's really poetic that as everything they're putting out is bombing, they also lost the beginning of Mickey Mouse. That's kind of amazing, and there's a sick, twisted part of me that gets a little bit of pleasure out of that. But at the same time, it's so much a part of Disney's identity. Like, all things being equal, forget about what they've turned into now. There's a part of me that feels just kind of wrong about it.
Yeah, especially because that's their logo. That's been their logo recently. Steamboat Willie has been their logo for like a decade now. Mm-hmm. And it's just
they have a piece of that cartoon in front of some movies. Yeah, I don't
like Disney making a bunch of crap out of their classic stuff and remaking it and putting out crap. I don't want normal people doing it either. That doesn't make it any better. Like just because the people have the power, I mean, are we going to get anything great? Are we going to get the great Steamboat Willie, like, iconic movie? I doubt it. I don't see what the point of it is.
Well, that's my big question is, when has that ever happened with public domain stuff either? But besides, I've had this conversation recently with Austin on A Stream somewhere, I think. But, like, besides Sherlock Holmes and stuff, when has a public domain thing like that gone into... when is a big character gone into the public domain and somebody makes a new definitive version of it? I guess it's happened before with Zorro and things like that. Unless
that'd be a good research project.
Unless Zorro is a thing that is not public domain and somebody has the rights to. I'm actually not sure about that.
Yeah, I don't know. That'd be a cool research project to do. Because I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, I don't feel super comfortable weighing in on this. Because I don't feel like I'm with you. Like, I feel like I need to do a lot more reading on it. But my gut reaction is, it seems right that it finally has happened and probably should have happened earlier. Just as far as what I think the law should be and what, like rights and things should be in a, democratic state or whatever, what have you. But I don't want us to get, oversaturated with a whole bunch of crap. And also, if it's me, well, and having said that, there's also stuff that's gone in the public domain that people were kind of worried about, and then like hardly anything has really happened with it. Like with the Winnie the Pooh thing, with that one movie that was controversial for 5 seconds, and we've never heard anything else about that. I mean, with anything else yet.
I think that may have gotten greenlit for a sequel, but yeah, it's
no. But I'm talking about like any other projects, right? Like, did anything else get like? I think what you'll see is just a whole bunch of random little things that people legally can make, but don't make them any more money than they would if they made them illegally. I think there's going to be a lot of that. And also, I think a lot of people are just going to legally be able to do things they would be doing anyway. Like, I saw articles written about people, like, finally being able to do, like, fan art on Etsy and things like that. And I'm like,
that's cool.
Big company, sure. But big companies don't tend to go after the small fish like that. I buy prints at conventions and online, pretty frequently, that are technically probably not especially legal, but people do it all the time because they're not afraid of the rules being enforced with that, right? So I don't know why anybody's really worried about that.
Yeah, I mean, they're the only reason they're doing it is because it's relevant, like right now. So yeah. I think it'll be like right now, people will do a bunch of stuff, and then it'll just die out, and because no one knows who Steamboat Willie is except for like people who actually care. So you're not like getting the fact that he kind of looks like Mickey Mouse with like a longer snout is the only like recognition you're actually getting from your thing, and because it's in the news right now because of the whole public domain thing, but after a while it'll go back to normal.
That's true, but it won't be too long before more of it is public domain. That's the first thing. And the second thing is you got to keep in mind that that if everything from that cartoon is public domain, the name Mickey Mouse, if it's associated with specifically that version, also is, because it's not like he was named Steamboat Willie and he got Mickey Mouse later. If you look at that cartoon, Mickey Mouse is in it. Like that, like his name is there.
Yeah, because back then they were like the actors, like Mickey Mouse was the actor playing Steamboat Willie.
Yeah. So it's not like Steamboat Willie is a different character. It's the Steamboat Willie version of Mickey Mouse, as far as I understand it.
Yeah, because they all had different art style when they first started. Like Donald Duck had like a big long beak and stuff. Now,
is there a part of me that just for the challenge of it almost wants to do something myself with it, kinda?
It's weird with that thing because it's like there's nothing. You're just basically writing a story from scratch and then just putting that character onto it because he had no character. Like you said, Mickey Mouse was the actor playing Steamboat Willie. Like he wasn't even he had no characterization. He was nothing. So all you're doing is like.
So you have the iconography of the outline of that character, and that's pretty much it. And it's like, well, okay, if that's all you've got to work with, I'd almost rather do a parody where I can use all the other stuff associated with that in a satirical way, and then you can get away with it anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What would you even do with it?
Yeah, because it's from a time of like golden age shorts where there was nothing. It was just about creative animation ideas, and like at least with Winnie the Pooh, you have like characters that have relationships with each other and like stories you can do. But like, it seems really weird to get excited about just having a picture of Mickey Mouse in your made-up story.
And I think you're also playing with fire, because if you're not careful and you accidentally use anything that is technically still within their copyright, especially right now, while Disney has got to be furious that they've lost that, you're going to get hit. You're just playing with fire. Roboters100 says, shame on you for skipping the 1930s version. I had heard about that the other day. I forgot that Steamboat Willie is not the only part of Mickey Mouse that is in public domain now. There's more of it, too. And again, I think as time passes, more and more of it falls in, because it's like 95 years ago. But I've not looked into what exactly that constitutes. I saw some article about, okay, now the shorts are like the shorts Mickey Mouse wears. Like that's now in the public domain.
Yeah.
This is all gonna get really hilarious and
yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. All the conversations that are being had about this little cartoon that Disney drew.
Yeah, and if I'm a lawyer that deals in copyright law, or if I'm a judge right now, I'm having nightmares about having to deal with any of this.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the news that's fit to print. For me, I feel like I got through that pretty quickly, DJ.
Heck yeah. That was great. We did get a few super chats.
Let's go ahead and hit those. Feel free to throw some more in. We've only got technically 20 minutes left in the show, but I will rapid fire these as quick as I can. Go ahead, DJ.
All right, Richard's Victims put this in right before we left, $4.99, or right as we were gone. Bombing on stage, not even in an interesting way like Jim Carrey in Man on the Moon, which goes over my head because I haven't seen that film.
And I love that movie. I don't really know what he means by bombing there, unless he just means like the way that that Andy Kaufman would kind of bomb on purpose.
Oh, okay.
But it's kind of odd that he said Jim Carrey and not Andy Kaufman. So I don't really know what he's getting at with that. But
yeah.
But yes, there are more and less interesting ways to ruin a performance. Certainly. Because one of these is trolling in the first place.
Yeah, and this guy was writing, clearly not, because he got angry and couldn't handle it.
Can I read this comment real quick? Sure. Apologies. Hayden Springs says, I would love to see Cat make a public domain Batman movie when that happens in 10 years. I wouldn't do a movie, but I would potentially do, like short stories, or find somebody to collaborate and do a comic with or something. Because, Mickey Mouse, just starting with the basic outline of that character as a cartoon, where there's like not any substance there, DJ, I don't know what you'd even do with that. If all you had was like the, Detective 27 or Batman #1, and everything else is off the table, you have to create your own rogues gallery past, whatever was that year or whatever. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, that's
like I can do all kinds of cool stuff with that.
Do whatever you want.
Yeah,
you still have the character and the premise and the concept.
The only thing you have to be and I think the floodgates open and that gets crazy. Like when that happens, it won't just be the 5 minutes it's news, because it's Batman.
Yeah.
And I know Mickey Mouse is, obviously a really important major icon, but Batman's obviously much bigger of a story thing. I think even over Superman, that's a thing that a bazillion people will want to, latch onto and deal with. And like Fleischer Superman has been in public domain for a long time, although I think it might just be that because there's a weird loophole where you can reprint the shorts. I don't think you can actually take that character and make new things with it. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Superman. Like, do we just get I don't think you go to horror with Superman, right? Like,
no, that's been done. That's
Superman's been pretty horrific in his latest portrayals. I
think the opposite happens. I think somebody comes in and immediately is like, "Oh, we're taking it back to Donner," but trying to be really careful not to make it look too Donnery or whatever.
I think you would get a bunch of just regurgitations of Donner, like Singer did. Maybe we could get a Return of Captain Invincible like story with Superman. That's probably a place people would go. He's like a retired drunk. I guess they did that in Superman 3, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's about to get weird, folks.
Well, hopefully, I guess, I don't know, the 10 years, it's coming up.
This whole there's either going to be this new like bizarre public domain era where a lot of crappy independent things, maybe a few good ones, get made out of things you've heard of, or it'll be a big nothing burger and a lot fewer people are going to actually care to try to get noticed with this stuff. Because again, it's just going to be a lot of kind of fan filmy things. It's like, well, you can make money with it, like legally. but is anybody going to give you money? That's the thing, is that this is happening during a period where it's difficult to make money with a lot of media that you used to be able to anyway. Like, people are not making big bank with ad revenue typically with fictional movies and things. That's not really what YouTube is for anymore.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's going to be interesting to watch, I guess. Maybe.
It'll be something people will expect us to talk about. And so here we are.
We will feign interest. Richard's Victims gives us another super chat, $9.99.
No, I'm curious. Don't get me wrong. I just don't know entirely how to feel about it.
Yeah, it's weird.
And I also think that it could be kind of nothing. Like, not Y2K nothing, but kind of nothing.
Nothing's quite that nothing. Richard's Victims, $9.99. Going back to that movie he mentioned earlier, I'm sorry for what I'm about to do.
Oh, no. Oh, God. He's going to request something, isn't he?
I
appreciate all the support tonight, by the way, Richard's Victims. And once again, condolences to your victims.
Yeah, he says, I'm sorry for what I'm about to do. I'm curious. I recommend The Girl Next Door 2007 for the request. Good luck trying to talk about this thing, though.
Okay, well, Austin, sorry, buddy. Sorry that happened. I shouldn't have said anything. I'm going to be Hagrid. Like, I should not have said that. I'm getting it in my Google Doc right now. Here we go. Boy,
they can do it through a super chat? I didn't even know that.
Well, I have, there's precedent for it. I've allowed it a couple of times where somebody will, in a super chat, bring up a thing they want me to talk about, and I'm like, well, that's a $10 super chat. You've gotten really close to what the request number is. So I don't know. I'm hoping it doesn't happen a ton.
Yeah. But
I will go ahead and tack it on the list, because especially after all the super chats he's left tonight, it would be kind of unfair if I was like, well, thanks for all the cash, but you still have to go on Patreon. So yeah, if it was something that one person did all the time, I would probably eventually kind of frown on it and be like, let's not do that super chats all the time.
Yeah.
But this is the second time it's ever happened, so I'm gonna allow it this time.
I just read the description, and this sounds awful.
Oh,
I don't know if you're gonna want to do that.
Okay, what's it called again?
The Girl Next Door from 2007.
Austin, I'm sorry, man, but I mean, we've done some doozies in the past.
Yeah.
It's not like the Human Centipede or anything, is it? Oh God.
It's just about.
I don't like that sound.
It's at one sentence. Follows the unspeakable torture and abuses committed on a teenage girl in the care of her aunt and the boys who witness and fail to report the crime. It's just like a realistic, true story. I don't know if there's gonna be anything enjoyable about it.
Just a warning: this movie will be extra hard watch for you specifically. Thanks, man.
Then why did you do it?
I'm gonna be terrified every time his name comes up now. And it was already an ominous name in the first place. And I keep saying condolences to his victims, but like his name
victim.
is The Victims. Yeah. So like he is a tragic figure. He's actually a number of tragic figures.
Yeah. We are Legion.
I want to know who the hell Richard is.
That's true. He's one of them. I don't know how it works. It's like a hive mind situation.
Austin says, I don't know why you're apologizing to me. It sounds like more like my thing. I have a feeling on this one that we're both going to start questioning life choices again. How many more super chats do we have?
We have one more from good old Richard's Victims.
Oh, no. Okay, no more requests tonight, sir.
He says it's about the copyright thing, not about the horrific movie that you have to watch. $4.99. The horror public domain thing.
I hope nobody makes a Mickey Mouse movie based on that premise. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Mickey Mouse, starring the teenage girl being tortured by her aunt. The horror public domain thing confuses me because this might sound dumb. Can't you argue it's a parody?
Yeah, I've had that thought too. The difficulty with it and where it gets really sticky is really titling and using the characters' names, right? Like, even parody law is real loose and can get kind of sticky. But, generally speaking, parodies will, like change a lot of names or use kind of rhyming names, get real cutesy about it, like Mad Magazine and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it'll be real clear, like what is being made fun of, but it won't be, all the same things, but it's funny now. Like, that's not really how parody works. But at the same time, somebody like Weird Al can come in and use exactly the melody of a song, but change the words. So, it's legal, and he gets permission, but doesn't have to. So, like, it's legal because it's parody, but there's still a big enough component to it that is not changed at all, where it tends to get a little bit sticky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know why. Like, they think it's going to do so much better just because it's the actual name, especially because I didn't watch it, of course, but the Blood and Honey thing was just like, weren't they just wearing masks?
Yeah,
Were they actually
the name isn't giving it any
creatures?
credibility. It looks as much of a knockoff and as generic as it would.
Well, they didn't even put Winnie the Pooh in the title, so they what's the point?
I thought it was Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, is it not?
Oh, maybe it is. Maybe it is. I might be wrong.
But
That's
I mean,
right.
like, it looked as generic as if it was called, like, Finny the Who or something.
Yeah, what's the difference? Like, there's nothing on the cover. It's just a overweight, heavyset guy in a bear mask. It's like,
yeah,
which doesn't
and that's
even look
exactly
that
what
much
that Mickey
like
Mouse
Winnie the
movie
Pooh,
looks like,
'cause it's
too.
just yellow guy. Is it really? See, the interesting thing to do would be actually do an animated thing.
Right.
But no one wants to do anything interesting.
Well, that costs money and takes effort.
Yeah, it takes talent.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe what I'll do is take all the public domain things, like, in the next decade, and make like a shared multiverse out of them.
That's never been done.
But just put all those characters together, and then it feels less generic by the fact that you've heard of all these characters that you can't do all that much with, but you put them all together now. That's what I'll do.
I'm so mixed on the whole thing, because it's like, just because a corporation owned it, like, it was created by a person originally. Like, everyone's like, oh, we're sticking it to the corporation. Well, like, freaking A.A. Milne wrote those very personal Winnie the Pooh stories for his son, and just because Disney bought it and they, ran it into the ground, and doesn't mean, like, it's kind of sucks for the original guy, Walt Disney, and the original writer of Winnie the Pooh, Milne. Like,
no, I
they
completely
don't
agree with
want to
that.
see their characters, like, dragged through the mud and turned into just crappy stuff that people can make a buck on. Like, it's sad.
Well, when I said it was poetic for Disney, like, that's not me saying I'm glad that kind of thing is happening to Mickey Mouse himself, of course, but just it's kind of fun to see them lose that.
Yeah. It's weird.
In its way, but yeah, it really is. I'm gonna change the subject for a second and say that this whole time I've had like treks, like stress track, just like running in my brain, and like it just. You didn't even know I was doing that show, and I've been killing myself for the last 2 weeks trying to come up with the right title. Like, you just rattled that off without thinking about it. And I'm like, that might be the thing.
That's just what came to my head. Similar sounds, but I think you could do better. Put some more thought into it.
Yeah, but it's so descriptive though.
It will cause you a lot of stress. That's why.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is I like that I'll be going around like, man, I'm so stressed out having to watch New Trek. It's like, well, that's the idea. It's sort of like Cap Can't Play. I suck at this game, but I mean, it's in the title.
Yeah, some games you can play. You've been playing some games that you can play recently. I really like the Christmas stream.
Oh, thanks, man. But I didn't call that Cap Can't Play because that's a game I can play. And also, I'm pivoting now. I don't know how much of this I'm going to do because I know there's not a ton of interest in the gameplay thing on the channel. Although they've been doing a little bit better lately, but I'm pivoting to, and I might still go back and do some Cap Can't Play, but I've got this new arcade machine that is configured for Switch, and I want to do more Caps Arcade and try classic type arcade games on it, but also stuff that's not really meant to be played with a stick and just see how well I can do with it. I want to try to get really good DJ at platformers on it. So I've been playing Mario Wonder with the arcade stick, and that's challenging, but it's really fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, I can see it right there behind you. It's really cool.
Well, nobody else can. You don't break the illusion.
I am rubbing it in.
He's breaking the illusion, folks.
I also see Tom Welling just like right behind you, just staring at me this whole stream on that Smallville box set that I got. Tom Welling's
behind. Oh yeah,
just right there.
He's peering into your soul.
He is.
5 minutes left in the program. Last call for a super chat. Or two. Do we have any cool pre-written things to maybe talk about?
Sure.
We somehow caught up. We had a lot on the agenda tonight, and I don't mean to toot my own horn or nothing, but this doesn't happen a lot.
Yeah. You saying you not being behind is a special occasion?
Yeah, like when I put special in the title retroactively, that's what's special about it.
We got a couple cool ones from Daniverse here. Are there any movies or TV series that you want to get into now? Like right now?
Right now, this very moment. Well, I keep talking about the miniseries spin-off from John Wick, The Continental, which I still have not heard really anybody talk about. We had like everybody forgot this came out. I don't know that anybody's really seen it, and I'm still curious about it. And so I want to watch that. We did have, I brought this up the other day on a stream, and somebody finally came in and said they watched like half of the first episode and turned it off. So that doesn't bode well. I don't know what that's about, but I'm still curious. I still want to see that. I think Keanu Reeves is supposed to at least have a cameo in that, and I don't know. It was a cool idea for a miniseries. So I want to look at that. I have been watching Squid Game, believe it or not. I want to do a review on that. I want to rewatch it before I talk about it very much. Oh. But I want to do a video on that. And I've been watching the competitive reality series based on that, which I thought sounded almost dystopian that we would even do that. That we even have real people, like in that situation with the premise of that show. I realize we're not actually killing them, but it's just it's kind of nuts.
It's the most dumb corporate.
It is
ever. You watched that show and that's what you got out of it, is that you should do it for real.
Exactly. It would be like if you did a competitive reality series called The Running Man. Like that, like that's what that is.
Yeah.
But I decided to go ahead and look at it, and it's actually kind of entertaining, and I'm enjoying it. I don't think I like that it exists.
Yeah.
But I have been looking at that. That wasn't the question, but I just thought like other things I actually want to look at. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I haven't watched Squid Game, and I don't know. I just recently heard that was even happening, but that's not. I think that gets made because of the crazy like memeable popularity of the show, not because they watched the show and thought it was a good idea to do that. But it just got so popular, they're like, quick, Squid Game equals money.
What's funny, Jason told me that Mr. Beast did it first and had better sets. Which is hilarious if that's true.
Got more money than Netflix anyway.
He sure seems like he does. That's exactly right.
I got a couple things I'm trying to get to this. I actually made a list on Letterboxd called my 2024 short list. If you want to check it out, it's on my Letterboxd. But because one of my goals this year is to watch more things that I own and stop like watching things on streaming or like buying as much new stuff and try to actually get through the stuff I have, because I have a lot of cool stuff. And there's a lot of stuff I haven't got to yet. So there's a bunch of stuff on there. I want to finally get to the Three Colors trilogy. I want to finally get to the Marx Brothers and watch through that box set I have of theirs, and get to some more Eric Romer films. Mostly the big box sets that I have of like certain directors and actors that I want to tackle this year. So hopefully I can do that. It's a lot though. It's a lot of stuff.
Okay, so there's more stuff I could probably bring up, but real quick, Hayden Spring had another Patreon question that he put in after I sent them to you. So I'm going to go ahead and read this one real quick. And we'll finish up the show with this because we're at 2 hours right now. He says, on a live stream a couple years ago, I can't believe it's been this long. I remember this as being like a couple months ago, and I should probably do something about this. He says, I pitched you the idea of watching a season of Sentai and then seeing how you would adapt it into a season of Power Rangers. If time wasn't an issue, is this an idea that still interests you? Yeah, no, I love that idea. It would be really super cool to do that. It would still be quite the expense. Like, I don't know, could you get away with adapting a Sentai and not shooting any costume footage yourself at all? Like, I feel like you'd be hard-pressed to make a thing that looked like it had any production value if you didn't at least have the suits, where you could have your actors with the helmets off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the main problem with like a lot of Power Rangers fan films, is that it's like 99% just kids running around, and then there's like they can afford like one scene with a suit or something.
Yeah, but that's why adapting a season would be cool, because then you'd have all that action, and you would just have to make sure you wrote a good dramatic story around it, where you did really good stuff with either soap opera or sitcom type stuff. But I guess what I'm asking is, could I get away with shooting stuff that didn't really cost me anything? Or would I need to I feel like I would at least need to get the costumes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. At least a few, at least a couple.
Yeah. But no, I love that idea. I don't know that I'll ever have time to prioritize that. And then the question is, where would you put it? Because like I feel like you'd get copyright flagged all day and I wouldn't be able to upload it anywhere. So that's the main thing that has always like set me back on that idea. So I don't know if I'll ever really do that, but I like the idea of doing that. I do want to do some blind commentaries on Sentais though, and I mean, like I've threatened that forever, but I'm starting to do more of that kind of thing as I like you know, time is kind of at a premium, at least during the day for me right now. So like I can do things after dark. It's gonna get harder when my wife goes back to work. Let me just say that I don't really know what things are going to look like a month from now, because I'm going to have to start getting up earlier. But when I'm able to stay up, I've got time to stream, but it's hard to prepare for anything. And so that's why I'm doing more kind of, you know, by the seat of my pants type stuff right now. And so apologies if some of that looks a little bit lazy, but like that's by necessity, because I don't have the time during the day with all the distractions with my kids and stuff and just responsibilities to actually, you know, read and watch things for review. And I want to really prioritize the commentary project when I get more back to regular stuff. So like I said, seat of my pants. I don't know for sure when we're going to get back to anything like the regular schedule. Yeah. So, yeah, the hiatus thing could be an era for a while. Which, honestly, I'm enjoying the crap out of. I think it's really fun to spring a live show on people. And for a long time, I thought that was a bad idea, where it's like, well, if people don't know about it ahead of time, they're not going to show up. And I don't know, like I hate to never give anybody any notice where they can't really plan around it, but like it's there to look at later on if you're not able to be there for it. And the numbers don't seem to be affected by it. If it's a thing people care about, the numbers seem to be about what they would be. And I don't mean to make everything about that. I just mean, you know, if it was ticking people off that they didn't know about it ahead of time, you'd see a big change in the numbers, and that doesn't seem to be the case. So, yeah. It's kind of fun just a couple hours before I stream. Oh, hey, he's doing this. All right.
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of the time, East Coast people, you're streaming when they're sleeping anyway, so they're used to watching them the next day. So.
Oh, Hayden says he meant more if I watched a season and then I just pitched an adaptation.
Oh, well, that's a lot easier then.
Sure, yeah.
Making one.
Yeah, I could potentially do that. I'm always making more work for myself. But I've always liked the idea of actually doing an adaptation. But yeah. I'll have to look at a season that obviously has not had a Power Rangers, because I've never really watched through... I mean, I haven't watched through a full Sentai besides Zuranger, and that's been forever. Anyway, but like I've rarely looked at any episodes from one that wasn't adapted.
Yeah, I haven't done that at all. But that'd be cool to see those suits that we never got.
Indeed. Anyway,
maybe they would have fingerless gloves on their suits.
Yeah. That'd be... See, that's a big pet peeve of mine, though, with Power Rangers. I don't like morphing into anything that's got skin. It bothers me. You should have no skin showing whatsoever if you're in a Power Ranger suit.
Yeah, it's a suit. It's a morph. You should be completely covered.
Yeah, you've transformed. It's very... I mean, and I get that Rangers can take their helmets off, and there's a part of me that's always felt a little bit weird about that, too.
Doesn't really make sense. Yeah, that's weird.
It doesn't make sense until you get to things like RPM, where you have the suits in a place, and morphing is simply teleporting it onto a person.
Yeah.
But if it's actually...
And they also just go like this, and then just stick them on their heads without opening them, like a cartoon character sticking his head in a jar or something. I wish there was a sound effect when they did it. It's more of a time.
Well, in Mighty Morphin, anytime Jason says back to action, I always imagine that he doesn't even physically have to put his helmet back on, that just saying that magically puts it back on his head.
That's true. They're voice activated.
See, I don't know if that's cool or just lazy. As a power. My power is I don't have to bother putting my helmet. I'm like Spawn. I just think about it, and the mask comes on and off.
Well, I don't even know if you can put one of those helmets on by yourself. I think you need someone to like push it closed and like snap the things on the side for you.
Oh, okay. Wow. That is the almighty power of the morphing grid at work, folks.
It can snap the snaps without, for you.
DJ, I thoroughly enjoyed this very late night stream for the Captain Logan show.
Yeah. Very different vibe. Sorry if I'm fading a little bit, but it was fun. I'm glad we got to catch up. It's been a while.
I'm sorry for keeping you up late, but I gotta tell you, I'm a lot more alert than I thought I would be. And I honestly feel kind of more with it even than on a standard episode of the Captain Logan show. And I don't know if it's just the kind of novelty of doing it at a different time or what, but like I really like the feel of this. And like when the twins were born, we had to do a lot of later night shows, but we cut them off at an hour, and we started like at 9 and we quit at 10. Starting at 10 and going to midnight, I won't make you do it all the time because I know that's really late for you, but boy, I'm digging on it, man.
Yeah, it's basically the same for me. It's not any different because my family's already all asleep when we do it normally, and it's exactly the same now. But I know it's totally different for you because you're doing this at like 7 usually, and you still got people running around upstairs. And
yeah, exactly. Well, I hate doing the show without you, DJ, but I want to do more late night news. This has been fun.
Late night news with Cap and DJ.
Anyway, I don't know when we'll come back and do more Captain Logan shows. I'll talk to DJ, see how he feels about doing more late night stuff like this, because it's going to be a while before I can get anything like back to, the normal 7 o'clock thing. But we'll stream when we can. We're not going to have a regular schedule for quite a while, so just wait around. Something will pop up in your feed. I am sure. And anyway, appreciate you guys. Thanks a whole bunch for watching. DJ, this was just wonderful. You were awesome as always.
Well, thank you, sir. You are quite the gentleman and the scholar.
I try, man. And thanks for giving me titles for shows I can't figure out.
I will try to just pull stuff out of my rear end whenever I can.
Was it Trek Stress or Stress Trek? What did you say?
I said Trek Stress, but feel free to, rearrange.
Yeah, I don't know which of those I like better, actually. But anyway, they both perfectly encapsulate how I feel when I look at those shows. I'll see you guys real soon with more streams, and I don't know if I'll be able to do anything this weekend. My son has another dance competition, 2 in a row. I gotta drive back and forth to downtown Kansas City and spend way too much for parking, and like weather this weekend is supposed to be a nightmare, so I'm not looking forward to any of that. It was really nice getting to do this with you guys right before I have to get into the gauntlet of that madness, but we'll see if I've got a night where I don't feel like I want to die when I get home after being there all day long, and maybe I'll do something, probably just video game streaming or something real light like that, but I don't know, something can happen, and anything can happen. Anyway, appreciate you guys. See you again real soon. I was Captain Logan, and this was the magnanimous DJ Martinez.
Bye, everybody. Have a good night.
Appreciate you. Oh, we have like music we play out with. I forgot what show this was. Oh, the music's not up anymore. Okay, well, you know what that means, DJ. You know what that means.
I have to hum?
No, that means. Oh, you can't hear it right now, but that means we're playing out by taking you for a ride.
I'll pretend like I can hear it.
See you later, folks. We should do this every time. I don't know why we don't do that.